pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
While you're still up, let me ask for just a moment's silence. Some of you who've been watching probably notices, many have seen it. We've got word today that Jason Payne's father passed away as a result of some sort of accident. I don't know. He'll be away the rest of the week, and we'll struggle to keep things in order. Let's take just a minute to think about him, if you please. Okay, thank you. That's good. As usual, there is space at the beginning of the meeting agenda for opening public comments for anyone who has remarks they'd like to make before we begin. Is there anyone?
Yes. Mine are for actually the attorney. What exactly is the LRA lawsuit for?
Well, that's a question, not a statement. So what is it for?
Yes, what is Audubon hoping to get out of this lawsuit? Why are we suing them?
Oh, the city is not suing the airport.
Okay,
The airport authority is suing the city
okay. And why are they doing that?
because they were cited. They were
Okay.
cited for violation of the ordinance.
Okay, and that ordinance is for?
The ordinance concerns a couple of things.
Okay.
One, the ordinance requires that the permit be acquired before discussions about obtaining an easement are begun. And second, that no easement will result in a nuisance, public nuisance.
Okay, and then?
And I'm paraphrasing because, quite frankly, the ordinance will speak for itself, and I'm not giving you word for word what the ordinance says, but that's a summary, if you will.
I've read that it was also kept residents from getting into the quiet home program. Is that what made residents who qualified for that program not sign up for it?
No,
No. What stopped the residents from participating in that program?
the airport authority made that decision.
Okay, they wouldn't let our residents, even if they wanted to, they couldn't.
Well, that, they did want to, but then they did not make the application properly, and they had discussions in violation of the ordinance before they made the application.
Okay, so it was the,
And then they chose, once they filed the suit, not to proceed with the Quiet Home program in Audubon Park. But
Okay.
that's not a decision the city made, that's a decision the airport authority made.
may I ask, how much has Audubon paid for the legal representation of this lawsuit?
Approximately $11,000.
$11,000. That's all I want to know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, shall we, since Steve, you've already had the floor, would you like to continue with the other remarks?
Sure. Talk about a couple of other pending matters. One is the Reeser Lee matter. That case has now moved toward summary judgment. The city has filed summary judgment in defense of the claims that have been made by Mr. Reeser and Ms. Lee. And the city has also filed their own motion for summary judgment for a ruling that the money that was paid to Mr. Reeser and Ms. Lee needs to be paid back, which was our counterclaim. And then we've got the Vidito case still pending, and an answer was filed to our complaint. We're seeking restitution from Mr. Vidito in much the same way we are from Mr. Reeser and Ms. Lee. And that's all that's happened in that case so far. I'm looking forward to a favorable decision from Judge Eckerly so that we can use that information to file for judgment in our favor in the Vidito case.
Is the is the Reeser case, when do we get some sort of response to that request for summary judgment?
They have, and this is according to a letter from Judge Eckerly to the attorneys, that Mr. Clay and Mr. Lay have 20 days to respond to the.
From what
motion.
date?
April 17th. And then we'll have 10 days to file a reply to that response after they have filed their response. At that point, we'll submit a AOC 280, which is a form noticing that the case is ready for a decision, and she'll render a decision shortly thereafter.
So we're talking a month from the 17th?
Well, it starts, the 17th was the triggering date, that's when we filed our motions. The other side has 20 days, and we have then 10
And then we-
days.
So that's give or take a month.
Mid-May,
Mm-hmm.
it'll be ripe for a decision.
Okay, now is this only on the restitution part, or is that also on the whole kit and caboodle?
Everything, including the restitution part.
Okay, so let's just say they don't agree, T. Clay and those guys, then,
Let's assume we win, first of all.
Okay, that would be
And
good.
then they don't agree, which would be to be expected.
right,
Then they have a right to appeal that decision.
and then that whole process starts all over again.
Well, it starts in a whole different venue, because it goes to the Kentucky Court of Appeals then at that point.
Okay.
And you go through the appellate process.
Now, is the restitution separate and distinct from the other case?
It
So
is.
that we could get that one,
Yeah, oddly
Fine.
enough, you could get one without the other. I mean, at least intellectually, that could happen.
but they would appeal both if we prevailed on either one.
Well, if they prevail on their claim, in other words, defeat the motion for summary judgment, it means they get a trial on their question. Doesn't
Okay.
mean they win, it just means they
Okay.
get a trial. And we would have, and if we were to win the counterclaim, they will have to wait until the trial's over to appeal that favorable decision. It would be favorable to us, unfavorable to them.
Okay.
Is that the extent of your report?
Well, the other thing I want to report is that the notice of appeal and the designation of the record has been filed in the airport authority case. And so that is now underway in the circuit court.
You said notice of appeal and what?
It's called the designation of record. That's where I have to send notice to the clerk that I want the entire written record and the record from the hearing that Mayor Crawford and I attended. It was actually an oral argument, to be very precise. I want that record sent up to the circuit court so that they'll have that available to them when it's time for the review of the briefs. I have to be able to cite to the record within the briefs, and the only way I can do that is if I designate the record appropriately, and I have done that.
All right,
now
so
we're-
we started district and now it's going to circuit?
Correct,
Okay.
in that case. And in its comparison, the Reeser Lee case began in circuit court and is still there. And Mr. Bittertoe's case is in the circuit court as well. Different judge, but same circuit court.
I'd like to make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss some other aspects of the pending
Pending
litigation.
litigation.
Which specifically, the airport or the pension case?
Well, you don't have to
Oh, yeah.
designate that,
Oh,
go
you
into
don't.
the motion, but it has to be made according to KRS 61.8101C, which is pending litigation. But
Okay.
if you do that, you get a second and a favorable vote.
Okay, do
you
I
can
need
do
to say that?
He just said it.
Okay. What he said.
What he said.
That second.
All right, the motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, may I ask those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Very well, my apologies, guests. We'll have to ask to clear the room, and
We'll recess and then we'll re-adjourn shortly.